Welcome back. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelesky is urging world leaders at the G7 summit to do their utmost to end Russia's invasion of his country by the end of the year. In an address via video link to the gathering in the German Alps, Zelensky says battle conditions will make it tougher for his troops as they try to fight back. Zelensky also calling on G7 countries to intensify sanctions against Russia. Meanwhile, President Cyril Ramaphosa is attending the G7 summit at the invitation of member nations. Well, let's find out more about our relationship with our BRICS partner, Russia. We're joined now by the director of the Brenthurst Foundation, Dr Greg. Dr. Mills, good evening to you, and thank you for your time. You've been, how do I put this, very critical, highly critical, very, very critical of our government's response to this invasion, the fact that we will not condemn Russia. Why are you so critical?
Well, I think it undermines the basic values that South Africa was founded on back in 1994, where, you know, as Mandela put it, human rights would be the light that guides our foreign affairs. And, excuse me, I think that also it's unclear that what we're going to get out of it, even in terms of national interest. If you say that freedoms are not our national interest, which I would disagree with, then you have to ask yourself, why are we hitching our wagons so closely to the Russian cart, when, you know, it's not clear that that's in our strategic national interest or advantage.
You say that, but I mean, and I well remember the 1993 piece by Nelson Mandela, but I mean, a lot has changed since then. At the moment, India, for example, is buying Russian oil. China is buying Russian oil. We understand at a hefty discount. Our petrol prices are going through the roof. It's having a big impact on our economy. It's probably having an impact on whether Eskom can keep the lights on. Isn't it a good idea to try and stay friendly with Russia?
Well, I don't think it necessarily means that you have to be anti-Russia in order to be pro-Ukraine. I think you need to be pro-Ukraine in terms of upholding those values. I think you need to be pro-Ukraine in terms of maintaining global trade. I think you need to be pro-Ukraine in terms of the real interest that Africa shares in terms of food supplies and the like. But it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be anti-Russian at the same time. So I think that South Africa has tried to be pro-Russian and has ended up being anti-Ukraine. And I think that that's undermined, as I said, those basic values, but also the big interests that we share with the Ukrainians in terms of trade and foodstuffs and the like. And I'm in the city of Odessa at the moment. It's the epicenter of Ukrainian exports. Ukraine exports about just over a tenth of world grain supplies, about half of world vegetable oil supplies, and you only have to look at the incredible increase in those prices as a consequence of this, and the sort of composite, the sort of number of ports around Odessa. It's not the biggest port in a series of ports. They also their largest commodity export is fertilizer, and so you see the consequences of fuel prices, fertilizer prices, and food prices in terms of what Russia has done. If we were getting something out of our relationship with Russia, as in we were getting some strategic leverage to end this war, or we were getting, you know, preferential pricing, or we were providing avenues that were otherwise closed to us, one could kind of make the argument for it. But we seem to be anti-Western by default, anti-Ukrainian by default, without considering our interests. As I said, they include values.
You say our interests include values. I mean, we're also part of BRICS, the BRICS summit at the moment, or last week rather. I mean, do you think BRICS serves a purpose for South Africa? It is a good thing to be part of a club of very important, very big countries. Of course, China is there. We all want access to China's markets. Do you believe then, if we're not going to support Russia, if we're going to take a hard line, sort of pro-Ukraine, or maybe just a gently pro-Ukraine line, we would have to leave BRICS? Should we leave BRICS?
Well, Brazil has taken a so-called anti-Russian line. It's been critical of Russia, and it's still a member of BRICS. I mean, I think BRICS is a good idea as in terms of, you know, providing other markets, providing other avenues for funding and the like. The fundamental problem with BRICS has always been, and I think you see this in sharp relief now, is that BRICS doesn't share common values. I mean, Russia's an authoritarian country, China's an authoritarian regime, and probably under Xi Jinping increasingly so. India is the world's largest democracy, but also has its moments. And Brazil, and of course it's in a period of sort of right-wing populism, but and South Africa are the outliers by comparison to the rest. in terms of both their population size and their economic size. But they're also outliers in terms of their political system. So the problem with the BRICS is completely contrary to the sorts of forces that hold the Europeans together, which is a value-based system, and the BRICS are not value-based. Yes, they're important economically and increasingly so, but we forget that the United States' economy is by itself as large as all of the BRICS economies put together. And if you add the US and the European Union together, the two largest economies in the world, you have an economy twice the size of the BRICS. So we need to maintain at least some balance in our foreign affairs. And as I said, we tend to genuflect almost by default towards being at least as anti-Western as we are pro-anything on just about any matter. And if you look at our voting record in the UN, you see this very clearly.
Dr. Greg Mills, thank you, Director of the Brenthurst Foundation. Do appreciate it, live from Odessa tonight.